Welcome everyone to this week's Oracle reading, and a little bit about what's going on in our world is Brian is putting together some Wim Hof workshops. So if you are not familiar with Wim Hof, I think you will be soon. He's quite the character, but his main message is basically personal empowerment and blasting through limiting beliefs, and he uses his body as a way to do that. And so it draws in a lot of masculine energy, a lot of males, and which I think is beautiful because I was in yoga class this weekend and I was just thinking about, as Brian's teaching, being a male in the yoga world, and there was 3 other males in the room and, a handful of women, but how, as women, we do get a lot of opportunities to explore and to use our mind-body connection and to do that in safe places. We have communities where we can do that. And whereas for males, it's not really there. And it can be a little bit just out of their comfort zone for the most part. And that's why I love that Brian's doing what he's doing. But then that's what the Wim Hof community is really doing. So they make it a very safe experience, a safe place because it's very physical, and that's more the masculine energy. So they resonate with, like, how can I achieve, right? That's masculine energy, the conquering, and we all have that within us. So it's not like it's just male, just female. It's the masculine energy that tends to be more in the males. So then they gravitate towards that. And then it opens things up a little bit deeper, and they don't need to necessarily know that when they're going in. It might be a pleasant surprise. It's just like yoga though. Like when you go to yoga, you get out of it what you're putting in. If it's just a physical practice for you, awesome. Then that's what it's going to be. If you want it to be more like mind body, awesome. If you want it to be spiritual, awesome. Like that's the intention you bring forward is what you'll get out of it. And so with Wim Hof, it's very physical, and yet it taps into the deeper parts of us, like the mental health and stuff. It's so connected to that, and it doesn't have to be. But for those who maybe are gravitating towards it because of the physical, and all of a sudden they realize, like, wow, there's something more going on here, that's so incredible. And then it can also tap into spiritual, and that means that's very individualized. But I just think of it more as like there's a deeper purpose and meaning in this life, and that if we're constantly just at the physical level or at the external level, then we might be missing that, and this practice can bring us into a deeper, just like yoga can. So just like the breath can. So it's all these different layers that are totally wrapped up into it. And so Wim Hof method that's what it's about. It's about breaking through those limiting beliefs, that the conditioned stories that we have had, and uses the breath, uses the cold and commitment in order to do that. And so there's a workshop in Sioux Falls at Revolution coming up, and then another one in Spirit Lake. And so if you want to sign up for those, there's only a limited amount of spots available for those, but definitely worth it. And if you have people in your life, like especially this was just very clear to me this weekend in that yoga class, is like we need to open this up and make it something like this. Is if you have like a male in your life, you are male and you're watching this and you're kind of like exploring and wanting to go deeper into your physical body, into your performance, into even mental health, like whatever it is, but it's very male based. That doesn't mean that women shouldn't be doing it, because we all have masculine energy in us. And so anyway, but then this would be a great thing for those males in your life that maybe wanted to do yoga but don't feel comfortable going to a yoga class. This would be perfect. Or athletes of any sort, where it's just an avenue that is a safe place for them to go and explore. So that's going on. And then we also start our certification course coming up in April. We absolutely love doing this. We love teaching people to really know the depth of breath work, the depth of our mindset. That's certifying people to be able to go out and be breathwork coaches and understand why that's so important, the science behind it, and also some Eastern philosophies that align with it. So that's coming up as well. All right, now we'll get to our oracle reading. Well, this card's kind of funny because it's about masculine energy. So the card I pulled was bravado, and it says warrior guides. And I pulled from the Ask Your Guides Oracle deck. And okay, so as we grow as humans, either like in our just developmental stages, or maybe by life happenings that occur that have us changing the way that we interact with the world. What often will happen is we might go through this stage where because we're literally dependent on other people for our survival, we then might learn to really rely heavily on the external world to guide where we go in our life. So we have authority figures that we follow their set of beliefs, their rules, their social rules, hidden rules, whatever it is. Maybe it's family expectations, and we do that, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's just part of our story or our development. And so that can happen. Well, then all of a sudden we might get to this point where we're like, we have this like an awakening where we don't realize, or we realize that that's not necessarily in alignment with our truth, that we might be living and feeling controlled by other people or institutions, authority figures, that it's like, well, that's not in me. So then we might go through this period where we like rebel against authority. And so whenever an authority figure comes in, and we see that a lot like developmentally in teenagers, right? We're saying like, if we're finding ourselves in that stage where we're really questioning authority, and we're basically in that like, you can't control me type mindset, first to know that that's progress. That means that we've moved out of the dependency on other authority figures, people, expectations guiding our world for us. We're not passively living. We are now active. And that can be really hard for people, and some people might never get there, because when we do that, then we are claiming our own personal power. We're claiming our own authority. And what that means is then we are accountable for our own actions. That means that then if I do something that they're telling me to do and things don't go my way, then I have this to blame. If I choose my own personal power and I step forward and do this stuff and it doesn't go my way, then it's on me to course correct. It's on me, like that accountability weighs heavily on us. And so that we have to have a mindset shift of like, in order to really navigate that, is almost that like a growth-ish mindset where there is no failure. We're all discovering. You can be playful with it. Anyway, but if you don't, then you might even step out into that world of full accountability and full power. Things don't go your way. That's too scary. You might revert to a different authority type figure. So it's all progress. We have to be aware of where we are with it. What can happen too, though, is you might get into this where you're really rebelling against authority, and then you're beginning to like almost challenge everything that's coming forward from any sort of an authority figure. And then that's just anything that's too much. It becomes out of balance and can become problematic. So that's basically what this card is saying. Like, where in our life are we maybe a little bit too much anti-establishment, anti-authority figure? And where might we need to understand that not everything or everyone is working against us? That there are people who might be in a position of authority or different areas of expectations and stuff that actually might have good at heart for us. I think of it a lot of like, again, it's the balance of masculine and feminine energy. When you think of like feminine energy of being kind of like chaotic, free, flowing, and then masculine is more boundaries. But a river flows best when it has boundaries. Or when we like are raising children or working with children, like you want firm boundaries, but you want freedom within that boundary. So if we are in a state of like rebellion against authority figure and leadership and whatever, then it's complete chaos. And we can't function well in that. We need order, and then some freedom and flexibility within the order. And so basically it's saying like, where are we getting way off track and into too much chaos in our world? And then where can we then see like, well, where do we maybe need to accept some authority, some boundaries, some rules, some regulations? There's truth to rebelling against authority figures in certain times and certain places. There's also truth in following authority figures in certain times and certain places. And most of that might be specific to your own situation or your own culture and what's going on around you. So it's your own being, but also the collective. And so we have to then bring into balance masculine and feminine energy, the yin yang, right? And figure out, like, asking our warrior guides, like, thank you for, first of all, being there, because there's some people who might not get the opportunity to question authority and to like take on that personal accountability. So thanking them, but then asking them for the current courage to challenge those things that are oppressive to us and to other people. But also the wisdom to know when it's in our best interest or the collective's best interest to respect authority and to be able to be guided or told in certain ways, in certain things, what to do. And I think, like, there's times where, how many times can you think of, like, you had a certain belief in life and you were very strong about it, and then you learned more, and then maybe your belief shifted a little bit. And so we have to be able to go with the flow with that, of understanding, like, there might be people who understand us at a different level than what I do, and being open to learning that. Okay, so its message is stand up for what's important to you and ask for it. However, don't fight for its own sake. Respect the leadership and rights of others as well. So ponder that for this week, and maybe just pay attention. Maybe it's not in your own specific life, but maybe there's that energy around you, and it just brings you more awareness about what might be going on for others in your life.